Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I feel like it's never gonna sound normal. This is gonna be a bit of a weird video today, so maybe weird's not the right word, but I'm going to be talking all about my weight gain journey. You guys have been asking for this video since I said I was starting my YouTube. I do think it's really important for me to share my journey and be really transparent with you guys, because hopefully you can take something from it. I do want to most definitely give a disclaimer for this video, because I know that for some people a lot of things that I talk about within this video may be triggering certain things that I maybe did when I was struggling with disordered eating. If you find anything around calories triggering, because I will go into that, then please make sure that you turn this video off now. We are all at different points within our own journeys, and it's really important that we protect our own boundaries and we know what is right for us right now and what maybe isn't. It may not be helpful for some people, so yeah. I'm excited. I've got a whole notepad of notes. Where to start, guys? I honestly don't know. I feel like obviously a weight gain journey starts with the weight loss. Something that we forget is habits around food a lot of the time come from a place that is a little bit deeper. And I have always been, believe it or not, a very, very anxious person. It's a weird one with the word anxiety. I mean, I've been told hundreds of times, very unsympathetically, by the way, by doctors, that I have anxiety. However, I don't like to say I do, because I don't always have anxiety. Yes, it's something I've struggled with. Yes, when I look back now, I have had anxiety displaying itself in physical ways. I did struggle with panic attacks. When you are in a place where you are feeling overwhelmed a lot of the time, and just like, it feels like no one understands. It honestly feels like no one understands. I think that increased my want to fit in. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I got into the eating habits I did. The first time I lost a lot of weight was in 2017. I'm actually going to include some photos as we go. There were a few triggering comments, I'm not going to lie, but like I've said already, I think it's a lot deeper than that. So I'm not going to go into those comments, but the comments made me feel like I needed to get into shape. So what I did, got on my laptop, Googled how to get in shape. Oh my God, the internet is a minefield, which is why I'm in the fitness industry now, because I want to change that. First thing that comes up, you need to be tracking your calories on MyFitnessPal. Gorgeous, sounds simple. Popped on MyFitnessPal, popped in all my stats, 1,200 calories. I'm like, okay, well that's what I need to eat. No second thought to it, that's what I'd seen on the internet, so that was what it was gonna be. Started doing that, started tracking on MyFitnessPal. That quickly turned into 1,000 calories, 800 calories. One bowl of Slender porridge, yes, a day. It was a low point, but at the time I didn't see that. Then I was having skinny coffees on top of that. Then I was having laxatives. I remember one day just lying in bed, and I kept saying to myself, like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get out of bed? And now you look back and you're like, you had no energy. Like, food is energy. You literally couldn't function because you weren't feeding yourself. So there's no wonder that I was lying in bed. One of my friends did actually sit me down and talk to me, which was probably the most helpful thing. If you have a loved one or you have a family member or a friend that you are worried about, please tell them. Don't tiptoe around them. Do it in an empathetic way, but ask them if they're okay. Because I think I didn't realise what was going on until someone else pointed it out. So when people started finding out, this is when it got a bit like secretive. Basically, I moved home. I find it hard to relay because I don't remember everything that well. Understandably, again, I had no energy, so my memory would have been so bad. I was living at home and I was eating 3 meals a day. But if I was able to cook my meals, I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew what foods were super low in calories and what I could get away with looking like I'm eating 3 meals a day. I remember one a few times actually, sprinkling crumbs onto plates. So it looked like I'd had breakfast when I hadn't. It's just little things, isn't it, that you look back and you're like, why did you think you had to go to those lows? Like, what was the purpose of this? Because the purpose, when you actually dig a little bit deeper, was to feel good, and was to feel confident, and was to feel accepted. I just don't think I was a very nice person to be around. I really don't. Because you don't think about anyone else. I just thought I was the only person in the world that felt like this. But looking back now, it's so wrong. Like, it's so wrong. I think my motivation for gaining weight the first time, this is gonna be a long story. Firstly, I remember my mum saying something to me. It was along the lines of like, you're making yourself unwell. And I'd never processed that what I was doing was damaging my health. Also, because it was not fair that I was training in a team sport, my energy was just so bad. I had to sit out at a few sessions. I've got an underactive thyroid. So I was like telling everyone that my thyroid levels were imbalanced and it was really bad, and that's why I'd lost a lot of weight, and that's why my energy was so low, and that's why I was so tired. I was completely lying through my teeth. It was because I wasn't eating. Like, that's why I'd lost a lot of weight. And everyone was so supportive at cheer as well. I remember doing one competition, and I remember at the end of the competition, literally my legs giving way. And I was like, oh, it's my thyroid, I've been so ill, like making excuses till I was blue in the face. And then I did gain quite a bit, probably gained some weight for the World Champs, but I was definitely in a healthier place. I was definitely eating more. I did start tracking my calories to gain weight. Now, I think this is something that's important to mention because I was so emotionally heightened so much of the time, especially around food. It would cause so much anxiety that there was no chance in hell that I could check in with my body and see what I needed and see how I was feeling. So tracking calories was something that I did find was a really helpful mechanism for me. And I did reverse diet. This was the first time, up to probably around 2,200, 2,400 calories. And I was in a better place. And I was in a better place that year until the next World Champs. I looked a lot healthier, I looked a lot happier. Then when I came back from the World Champs, yeah, I kind of went back down that rabbit hole. I think it was a lot to do with feeling like I had no purpose. There was no reason anymore because I wasn't cheering. Like, what was the point? I didn't need to gain weight. Like, there was no point. It's so weird because you get so consumed by these thoughts of like, my purpose is to be thin. Like, I am not going to be accepted, I'm not going to be loved unless I am thin. Like, it's so bizarre because it's so far from the truth. So I did lose a lot of weight again. It was probably around 2018, 2019. And that wasn't as drastic. I'd stopped tracking and I obviously wasn't ready to control my food mindfully. I was still in that place of less is better. So yeah, I was eating 3 meals a day. However, it definitely wasn't enough. I just want to point this out because I'm really grateful for the fact that I lost weight really quickly. Only about 4% of people with eating disorders are noticeably underweight. And I think it's really important to point that out because an eating disorder is a mental health issue. It's not about your body. And there are so many people out there that struggle and don't feel they can reach out for help because they don't look like they've got an eating disorder, or because they're a healthy weight, or because they're overweight even. And it's so important to know that you can reach out for help and you can talk to people about it because you're not alone. Like, you are really not. And there's so many people that still struggle with their relationship with food and they are a healthy weight. The second time I lost weight was definitely the time that I really brought it back. And I think the only reason for that is because I was the one who said, there's something going on here. Like, you are still in a very restricted mentality. I was the one that wanted to change. Weight gain is not easy. It's definitely not. You get very used to the body that you've been in. And then gaining a little bit of fat, even though it is healthy, it can be difficult. So I would say you want to focus on all of the other aspects of your life. Going out and enjoying things with other people and having the energy to listen, having the energy to engage. These things are so valuable. Having the energy to exercise. Also humor. Like, you find things funny again. Like, I don't know if anyone else has struggled with this, but I literally I'd pretend to laugh and get involved, but I literally was a stone. Like, I feel like I had no emotions. I also couldn't cry for 2 years. Crying's really important. It's a release of emotions, and I was so incapable of doing that. I then reverse dieted up to about 2,600 calories until I was at a healthy place with my weight. My weight for the last 3-4 years has not changed between 60 and 64 kg. My weight fluctuates all the time, as does everyone's, especially as women throughout our menstrual cycle. So I then did my PT course, and I kind of wanted to like really get on it and really like feel like I was absolutely smashing it within fitness. At the time, I still thought that meant that I needed to be in the best bloody shape possible. I think I didn't realize until I tried to come away from tracking how obsessed I was. So yeah, I was tracking for years and years. Lockdown was a very pivotal part of my journey, and the first time I experienced binge eating, which is not particularly enjoyable, to be honest. Feeling restricted psychologically has huge impacts on our relationship with food. So I got to this point within lockdown. It was with Lloyd, and Lloyd loves his chocolate. Like, Lloyd loves his chocolate. And I think I started to realise that I'm actually incapable of being around these kinds of foods without, like, completely just being out of control. And that was because I'd restricted myself for them for so long. Now, this was a very interesting phase of my life because I, in my head, fully thought that I was fine, and I clearly wasn't. There was clearly a lot of issues still there. I then decided that I needed to come away from tracking altogether. I remember writing in my journal, I think it's 2020, I wrote, "This is my last day ever of tracking." It got a lot harder. I was eating a lot of food, like a lot of food. I don't even know how much because I didn't want to know, but I was listening to my body, and I was trying so hard to listen to my body. But what that meant was I was bottomless. That's how it felt. Like, I was so hungry all of the time. When I woke up, I was starving, and I wouldn't feel satisfied until I had eaten a very large amount of food. Within this time, I also started my period, which was bizarre to me because I always thought that I lost my period because I was on the coil. Now I'm starting to consider whether I did actually lose my period because of restriction, and it took a good while for it to come back. This is also when I experienced the huge breakout of hormonal acne, which I will also show here. So it makes sense that my hormones were going, oh shit, like, we're back. I was so puffy. Like, I was so puffy. You feel really self-conscious about it still, but I just was so, like, puffed out. Like, everything was, like, my boobs were so puffed out, my face was puffed out, I was covered in acne. I didn't feel great, I'm not gonna lie, and I think this is probably the hardest part. So grateful for Lloyd. Honestly, some days I literally did not want to go out the house. Like, a lot of days I didn't want to go out the house. Like, I just wanted to stay here. That was not easy. However, I think it was needed because after some time, I noticed my appetite starting to regulate. And this was very exciting for me. For someone who had been so hungry for so long, I actually get full and I actually feel satisfied. And that was a minefield to me. And I was like, oh my God, the day has come. Like, don't get me wrong. I still have days where I have low body image days. I still have days where I feel stressed. I still have days where I feel anxious. But I have my coping mechanisms in place now to deal with that. Like, I feel back to myself. Something that I think would be really good to mention, and something you could all take away from this, would be potentially the coping mechanisms that have built my confidence, because like I am so solid in who I am now. Like, I know who I am. I think that the fact that someone who was so insecure and wanted so badly to fit in has got to the place that I am now. It's been a journey, but it's been a good one. So I would like to help you guys get to that point where you don't feel like you need to prove yourself to anyone, and you don't feel like you need to fit into what societal standards are, and you can just be you. One thing that has been hugely valuable throughout my journey is learning how to regulate my emotions. Now, I can't always do this, guys. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and preach that I'm like the most chilled, most calm and collected person in the world. To be able to name your emotions is so important, and to be able to understand what you need to do to regulate those emotions is also so important. Changing the way you look at food and looking at what benefits you can get from foods, as opposed to what you should be cutting out and what you shouldn't be having. Look at what you should be having. Look at what you can include, and look at all foods as neutral. Foods are energy. Like, that is what food is. Food is your energy source. Some foods are going to have more nutritional value, 100%, but there is no good or bad food, and everything is healthy in moderation. When I was then surrounded by foods like chocolate and things that I demonized, I couldn't stop eating them, because the thing is with humans, you tell someone they can't have something, they're going to want it even more. So stop telling yourself you can't have things, and look at what more you can put into your diet. Also, training hugely helped me. Like, training to be strong and to just feel empowered. It also makes you more resilient, and I think mental resilience is something that is super important. I'm going to end this video here because I've literally been recording for 40 minutes, so I'm gonna have to really work on cutting this down. I do hope that this was helpful for you guys. Make sure to comment any questions that you do have. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope this was helpful. Please do give this a like if you did enjoy, and please make sure to hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video.